Let's get straight to the point. The difference in how people of color are treated in Israel versus many Muslim-majority countries is stark, and it's not even close. In Israel, people of color are protected by laws that guarantee equality and opportunity. The basic law, human dignity and liberty, ensures that all citizens, no matter their skin color, ethnicity, or background, have equal rights. Ethiopian Jews, Arab citizens, African migrants, everyone who lives in Israel is protected under this legal framework. This means people of color in Israel can vote, run for office, access healthcare, and receive education, just like any other citizen. You see Arab members of parliament, Ethiopian Jews serving in the military and government, and even Arab mayors running cities. But in many Muslim-majority countries, the picture is drastically different. Take countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, or the UAE, where millions of African and South Asian migrant workers are trapped under the kafala system. This system ties workers' legal status to their employer, which means they can't quit their jobs, they can't leave the country, and they have no legal rights to stand up against abuse. Let me be clear, this is modern-day slavery. People of color, especially African and South Asian workers, are exploited, overworked, and treated like disposable tools. If their employer decides to withhold their wages or their passports, they have no recourse. This is the reality in countries that are supposed to be leading the modern world. Meanwhile, in Israel, the rights of migrant workers are protected by law. Yes, there are challenges, but Israel has systems in place to provide healthcare, education, and even legal protection for migrants. There are active labor rights groups that help migrant workers if they face exploitation. Compare this to many Gulf countries, where workers are often packed into overcrowded labor camps, denied basic human dignity, and treated as second-class humans, or worse, as no more than cheap labor. In Israel, the legal framework provides opportunity for people of color to integrate into society. Ethiopian Jews and Arab citizens are not just participants in society, they help shape it. Ethiopian Jews have been members of the Knesset, Israel's parliament, and hold leadership roles in public and private sectors. Arab citizens have served as mayors, doctors, and professors. They're not excluded, they're integrated. And all of this is backed by Israeli law. Now let's contrast that with many Arab countries. In Saudi Arabia and Qatar, people of color, especially migrant workers, are essentially invisible. They have no voice, no ability to protest their conditions, no pathway to citizenship, no political representation, and no chance to ever fully integrate into society. They are kept on the fringes, permanent outsiders, no matter how long they've lived or worked there. This isn't some minor difference. It's a complete separation from the legal framework that protects people of color in Israel. And then there's the language issue. In many parts of the Arab world, the word for black person and slave is the same. Abid. Imagine that. If you're a black person, the very word people use to describe you is the same word for a slave. In countries like Mauritania and Libya, where slavery involving black Africans still exists today, this linguistic and cultural discrimination is embedded into everyday life. Meanwhile, in Israel, there is no such linguistic dehumanization. Israel is a country where, by law, no one can be reduced to a second-class citizen or dehumanized based on their race. In Israel, Arabic is a recognized language, with public signs, government services, and media all available in Arabic. Arab citizens are fully integrated into the legal and social structure. Compare that to many Muslim-majority countries, where people of color, especially non-citizens, have no access to political power or the same level of legal protections. In Israel, Arab citizens can challenge the government in court, run for office, and have a stake in the country's future. In much of the Arab world, people of color are kept voiceless, with no path to meaningful participation in society. Israel's military is another powerful example. Ethiopian Jews, Arab citizens, and Druze all serve alongside other Israelis in the Israel Defense Forces, where they receive the same rights and responsibilities as their fellow soldiers. In many Muslim-majority countries, military service is often reserved for certain ethnic groups, excluding people of color from equal participation. So, let's stop pretending there's any comparison. In Israel, people of color, whether Ethiopian Jews, Arab citizens, or African migrants, have access to legal protections, public services, and the opportunity to fully integrate into society. In many Muslim-majority countries, people of color, particularly migrant workers, are marginalized, exploited, and denied basic rights. The legal protections, representation, and dignity afforded to people of color in Israel make it one of the most progressive countries in the region. The comparison is stark. In Israel, people of color have a future. In far too many Muslim-majority countries, they don't even have their basic freedoms.